GTA has a lot of weapons, but some are pretty questionable, like what TF they even do. Total useless, starting with tear gas. Now on paper, tear gas sounds pretty badass, right? You picture this billowing cloud of noxious gas just utterly incapacitating anyone caught in it. But in reality, tear gas in GTA 5 is kind of a letdown. For starters, deploying it is just a pain. You've got to whip out the grenade, cook it for a few seconds, then try to toss it into the perfect spot before it goes off prematurely. All that effort for what amounts to a mediocre smokescreen. Because that's really all tear gas does in this game. It creates a big, opaque cloud that can disorient enemies for a few moments at best. And even then, they'll often just blunder right through it without being majorly affected. Compared to other grenades and explosives you get access to, tear gas just doesn't really bring that much to the table. A simple smoke grenade can disorient people just as well without the whole tear gas gimmick. The tear gas effects also wear off crazy quickly, both for you and the NPCs. So unless you're spamming grenades non-stop, any advantage you might have had is gone in a flash. All in all, tear gas is more of a novelty than a legitimately useful weapon. It can create some mildly amusing moments when NPCs freak out and start coughing. But for actual combat utility, you're better off just going with the tried and true explosives. Tear gas is kind of a dud in GTA 5. It sounds badass in theory, but in practice it's pretty underwhelming and not really worth the hassle most of the time. Unless you just really want to toxic gas some fools for the layels. Next, jerry can. On the surface, having a big old gas can to splash flammable liquid everywhere sounds awesome, right? You're probably imagining crazy Michael Bay-style explosions and burning down entire city blocks. But in reality, using the jerry can is kind of a letdown most of the time. For starters, the act of actually pouring out gas is so slow. You've got to carefully walk around trailing this thin stream of fuel behind you. Any faster, and the gas just fizzles out. By the time you've made a decent puddle or path of gas, you've pretty much painted a massive, "Hey, come kill me" target on your back. Enemies can easily see what you're doing and light you up before you can get any pyro action going. Even if you do manage to successfully douse an area, getting that gas to actually ignite can be a struggle at times. Sometimes it'll catch basically on its own. Other times you'll be spamming sticky bombs trying to light the tiniest puddle. And let's say you finally do get a nice path of flame going. Cool. You've now created a temporary barrier that lasts all of 10 seconds before burning itself out. Whoop-de-freaking-do. The jerry can be mildly useful for quickly blocking off choke points or funneling enemies into fiery death corridors. But most of the time, it's just not really worth the crazy amount of setup and risk involved. By the time you've doused and ignited an area, you could have just blown everything up with half a dozen sticky bombs or grenades instead. Or just run over bad guys with your car like a normal GTA protagonist. At the end of the day, the jerry can always feels a little too fiddly and undercooked as a weapon in these games. It's a neat idea in theory, but the execution just doesn't really make it worth the hassle. Stun gun. Ah yes, the stun gun. This non-lethal weapon seems like it could be a handy tool for disabling enemies without killing them, right? Well, let me go ahead and pour some cold reality on that idea real quick. See, the thing is, we're not playing as some meter maid or rent-a-cop in these GTA games. We're criminal masterminds, professional thieves, and all-around badasses. The last thing we need is some wimpy self-defense tool like a stun gun weighing us down. I mean, can you imagine rolling up to a big heist or gang meetup just casually stunning fools left and right instead of capping them? The streets of Los Santos would eat you alive, my friend. You'd get absolutely no respect out there zapping people like an overzealous mall cop. The way I see it, the stun gun is an absolute waste of weapon slot in GTA's chaos-filled sandboxes. We've got access to high-powered combat rifles, bulletproof armor, and heavy explosives. Why on earth would you ever choose to run around stunning people when you could just clean house with extreme prejudice instead? Unless you're doing some really goofy stun gun-only challenge run, this thing is basically useless for how we really play these games. We don't take hostages or de-escalate situations. We create bigger ones through excessively violent means. It's the GTA way. At best, the stun gun can occasionally be used for cheaply takedowns or disabling pesky enemies at point-blank range. But 9 times out of 10, you're better off just putting a few well-placed bullets into someone rather than zapping them. So in my book, the stun gun joins the rank of lame, underwhelming GTA weapons that don't really fit with our chaotic power fantasies. It's a neat little novelty, I suppose. But come on, we're not cops. We're criminals. Let's act like it and bring out the big guns already. Another gun I find kinda useless is Precision Rifle. This thing is the perfect example of an expensive, overhyped weapon that completely underwhelms in GTA Online. You look at this bad boy sniper rifle and think, damn, that's gonna be my new long-range killing machine. But then you actually take it into free roam or jobs and quickly realize, this thing kind of blows, bro. Let's start with the price tag. The Precision Rifle will set you back over $250,000 when you buy it from Ammu-Nation. Not exactly pocket change, especially for something that doesn't really bring that much extra firepower to the table. Once you've blown all that cash, you'll notice there's hardly any customization options for it. No special scopes, no suppressor, no consolation prizes. You get what you get with the base model. For an endgame sniper, it's kind of a letdown. But whatever you think, maybe it makes up for it with pure stopping power and accuracy? Nope, not really. The Precision Rifle's damage output is pretty underwhelming, especially against players using body armor. Good luck trying to one-shot someone from distance. And while it can hit long-range targets decently, you'll sometimes experience weird aim drift or bullet drop you wouldn't expect from a precision rifle. So good luck reliably sniping moving targets or aircraft. Where this rifle really falls flat is when you compare it to other powered-up sniper options available in GTA Online. The heavy sniper absolutely dominates it in the damage department. In most combat scenarios, you're just better off running with one of those other sniper classes. The Precision Rifle doesn't really excel enough in any area to justify its massive price tag and lack of attachments. It looks cool, sure. And I guess if you've got money to burn, it can be a fun toy for extreme long-distance pot shots. But as a go-to primary weapon? No way, man. This thing is just too imprecise and underwhelming for my tastes. Unless Rockstar buffs it with some major attachments or damage boosts, the Precision Rifle will continue to be that regrettable impulse buy collecting dust in my weapon locker. A shitty, overpriced missed opportunity all around. This is like the country rifle from GTA San Andreas. This piece of shit firearm is the perfect example of a weapon in San Andreas that sounds kinda cool in theory, but absolutely blows in practice. On paper, having a quick-firing rifle sounds pretty useful, right? You're probably thinking it'll be great for picking off targets at medium to long range. Well, let me go ahead and shatter those dreams real quick. First up, the aim on this thing is hot garbage. I'm not just talking about typical GTA auto-aim wonkiness either. The country rifle has this bizarre sway and recoil that makes it a nightmare to keep on target, even at relatively close distances. Forget about precisely landing shots, you're basically just spraying and praying. Speaking of range, this supposed rifle basically becomes a pea shooter the second you try using it from any sort of distance. The damage output and bullet velocity are so weak that you'll be lucky if your rounds even connect on a target more than 100 feet away. So much for those long-range aspirations. But okay, you could argue that the country rifle is meant for more run-and-gun mid-range stuff then, right? Well, even there it fails to impress compared to the other guns at your disposal. The fire rate is decent enough, sure. But the atrocious accuracy and lack of stopping power makes the country rifle a total liability once bullets start flying. You're better off just sticking to shotguns, SMGs, or the trusty old pistol when you need a reliable medium-range option. Honestly, the only scenario where the country rifle even remotely shines is against those dumb mob enemy drivers that hang out of car windows trying to gun you down. Even then, stealing their ride is usually the smarter play. GTA 5 also had Broken Bottle. Hoo boy, the Broken Bottle. Now this has to be one of the biggest jokes Rockstar has pulled by actually making it a selectable weapon in GTA 5, right? I mean, sure, we've all had those intense action movie fantasies of smashing a bottle and threatening someone with the jagged edges. It looks brutally intimidating and all, but using an actual broken bottle as a dedicated melee weapon? Come on, that's just silly. Let's start with the basics. The broken bottle has microscopic range. You basically have to be breathing down someone's neck already to even attempt a slash with this thing. At that point, you may as well just punch or kick them instead of fiddling with a fragile glass weapon. Then you've got the damage output, which is absolutely pitiful. Even against regular pedestrians, getting a kill with the bottle requires spamming that basic attack animation like a maniac. You'll look more like a crazy ex-boyfriend than a hardened criminal. Forget about even trying to use it against armed enemies or cops too. One shotgun blast or a couple pistol rounds and you're a goner before that bottle can find its mark. It's an absolute liability in any serious combat scenario. The only conceivable use I can imagine for the broken bottle is maybe throwing some wacky slapstick humor into your playthrough. Sprinting at oblivious NPCs and ineffectually slashing at them with a bottle could potentially create some ridiculous ragdoll physics hilarity, I suppose. But as an actual weapon to be feared or used strategically? Yeah, no, the broken bottle is a total joke. Plain and simple. It has to be included solely as an engine limitation quirk. Or maybe for Rockstar to get a few cheap laughs at our expense, as we drunkenly stumble around assaulting people with substandard glassware. Personally, I'll be keeping that broken bottle slot firmly vacated in my weapon wheel. If I want an improvistu melee option, I'll just pick up a baseball bat or crowbar off the streets. You know, an actual melee weapon that doesn't completely embarrass and undercut how badass my criminal protagonist is supposed to be. Alright, let's talk about the Marksman Rifle in GTA Online. This is one of those weapons that sounds super badass on paper, but doesn't fully deliver on those lofty expectations when you take it for a spin. For starters, the price on this sucker is no joke. We're talking over 100 kilo from ammunition just for the base model. That's some serious coin to drop on what's essentially just a fancy semi-auto sniper rifle, you know? Once you've blown all that cash, you start to realize that the Marksman doesn't necessarily give you enough of an edge to justify that premium price point. Sure, it's got decent range and accuracy for picking off targets at medium to long distances, but its damage output is pretty underwhelming, especially against players rocking body armor. What that means is, you often can't rely on quick, one-shot kills with this bad boy like you'd expect from a so-called Marksman Rifle. Most of the time, you'll need to land a couple well-placed shots to put someone down for good. That's kind of a letdown for a prestige-priced sniper class, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, the Marksman can definitely still get the job done in the right situations, but it doesn't particularly excel at anything to make it a must-have in your arsenal. It gets overshadowed by the heavy sniper's raw damage output, while being less versatile than something like the trusty pump shotgun. The Marksman Rifle just feels a bit too meager and middle of the road to justify its elite reputation and premium pricing tier. There's really nothing marksman about it besides the name slapped on the side. For my money, I'd rather just run with the heavy sniper or equip something more cost-effective for reliable medium-range combat. The Marksman is like an underwhelming middle child. Not bad per se, but nothing to go bonkers over either. But hey, if you've got plenty of cash burning a hole in your pocket and dig the look and handling, go for it. Just don't expect to suddenly become a cold-blooded sniper god or anything once you get your hands on this slightly overpriced, underperforming Marksman Rifle, and we are done. Which is the most useless gun or weapon in GTA according to you? Let me in the comments section and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care and have a nice day.